Hello, and welcome to the Movie Mouth Film and TV Podcast. We are back in our new fortnightly format, just so that we have more time to hone our podcast skills, watch more shows and movies, research more, and generally procrastinate for 2 weeks until exactly 1 hour before we press record in the virtual pod booth. On this week's show, we will have 3 new releases for review, starting at the end. Or is it the beginning? With Christopher Nolan's time-bending new blockbuster, Tenet, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter returning as Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan in Bill and Ted Face the Music, as well as HBO's new period horror show, Lovecraft Country, produced by Get Out and Us genius Jordan Peele. Alongside these, we'll be discussing the latest film news, listener questions, trailer breakdowns, and often forgotten Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich 90s romp in our recurring video store corner section. No, it isn't Independence Day, by the way. This is your co-host, Miles, and as ever, I'm joined by a man. You know what he looks like to me? With his good bag and his cheap shoes, he looks like a rube. A well-scrubbed, hustling rube with a little taste. Good nutrition's given him some length of bone, but he's not more than one generation from poor white trash, are you, Agent Steer? And that accent you've tried so desperately to shed, pure West Virginia. What is your father, dear? Is he a coal miner? Does he stink of the lamp? You know how quickly the boys found you. All those tedious, sticky fumblings in the back seats of cars, while you could only dream of getting out, getting anywhere, getting all the way to the FBI. Quid pro quo, Philip. Do you still hear the lamb screaming? It's Phil.
Hello, Miles.
Hi, Phil. How are you? Phil, I'm not. I don't know if there's a problem with the podcast software, but you seem to be speaking in tongues. I don't quite understand you, but I feel like what I should do is just try not to understand it and just live it. I guess you just said yes, but I still don't understand.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yeah.
What? Hang on. Now I understand you. What's happening?
Hello.
Hello.
Are you with me now? Am I all right?
I am. I don't know who fixed that, but I would just like to say thank you, Sir Michael. That's a little Tenet in joke right there for those of you paying attention. How are you, Phil? What have you been up to? What's going on?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I'm all good. What's going on? Well, we're recording a podcast.
Ah, yes. Yes, I just noticed that.
Good one, isn't it?
Very, very. What have you been watching this week?
Well, this week I finished season 2 of Happy on Netflix, which I've been watching the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks.
Did it make you feel happier?
Well, no, because because I've learned that no one's picked it up for season 3. They cancelled it, and I'm devastated.
So you're unhappy after Happy?
I've absolutely loved season 1 and 2. It's been hilarious. Just ridiculous couple of seasons. Absolutely loved it. And then I was like, brilliant. I wonder when they're going to do season 3. It might have been on hold because of the pandemic and everything. And then they're saying it might not even happen because I think it was Sci-Fi that had it originally. They dropped it. So I'm hoping Netflix pick it up.
Wow. That's really bad. I've had a lot of people recommend that to me. So
you should definitely watch it.
But I'm glad you finished it. Are you watching much else, or is it all review?
No, mainly. Oh no, I did watch a film that was on during the week, Molly's Game, starring
Jessica Chastain.
That's it, yeah, and Idris Elba.
Big Driss.
Yeah. Doing a relatively dodgy American accent in this.
I don't think his American accent's that great.
I don't think it is. I mean, I love Elba. I think he's brilliant.
Me too.
I don't know if his American. I mean, it's better than my American accent.
Yeah.
But if I tried,
Give us a go. Let's have a go.
No.
Aaron Sorkin. That was directed by Aaron Sorkin, that movie. I am a huge Sorkin fan. And obviously he wrote that. Does at any point, does Idris Elba say, "We are cancelling the apocalypse"?
And climb into a giant robot and then go and kick a lizard's ass? No, he doesn't.
Oh.
But it's good. It's so, for people that don't know, it's about Molly Bloom, who was an Olympic skier or Olympic class skier. I don't think she actually went to the Olympics, but she ran the world's most exclusive high stakes poker games. And she broke the law and she got in a lot of trouble. And then she became an FBI target.
I know we're talking about you, but can I talk about myself for a second, as per usual?
If you like, yeah.
Thanks.
Go on, then. You always do this. Switch it up.
So I broke my arm a few years ago, and I had a thanks, and I was getting my physiotherapy off this very nice Russian physiotherapist. He was a really nice guy, and we would talk endlessly about movies, about TV, about books, everything. Anyway, he recommended that I watch Molly's Game, and I watched it, and then came back, and he started telling me this story about it, and apparently he knew. Or knows many of the kind of Russian high stakes poker games that used to take place down in Brighton Beach in Brooklyn, where Molly would actually go and like kind of go along, and apparently she was the real deal.
Right.
But yeah, it was quite funny. I was quite scared of this guy, to be honest. As he was,
that he knew all the mafia that played poker, and
he knew everything.
You sure he was fixing your arm? He wasn't like breaking.
Well, I didn't say how I broke it in the first place. Needless to say, it was because I went to a high stakes poker game.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But no, good movie. Good movie.
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was tucking into. Now, I mentioned last week that I'm back in Europe, and obviously I'm catching up on a lot of things that I've missed out on over in the US. Top Gear, the last two series of Top Gear with the new hosts.
Oh.
So gone are Chris Evans, not Captain America, but ye of ginger-haired fame, and Matt LeBlanc of Friends fame. They are gone, and they've been replaced by Freddie Flintoff, Paddy McGuinness, and Chris Harris, who was a mainstay actually from that show. Really bloody good. Really good.
I've not really watched any of the newer
really good
stuff.
The band
sort of gave up when LeBlanc and Evans started doing it again.
Yeah, me too.
I to be honest, I got a bit pissed off with Top Gear before even Clarkson and May and Hammond went.
Yeah, the format got a little bit too scripted, didn't it? A little bit too obvious.
It got too insane.
Yeah,
for my liking.
But I don't know. I really like this. There was a scene in one of the episodes where Freddie Flintoff sits in a small car, some kind of Vauxhall Nova, maybe something like that. And he sits in this car, gets winched over the biggest dam in the world, and then he proceeds to drive off of this crane and bungee jump inside the car. So the car is basically on a bungee.
Right, so they haven't got rid of the insanity.
No, but honestly, it was one of the freakiest things I've ever seen. I was watching it on a laptop in bed, and I genuinely felt like sweaty, sick. For a moment there, I thought I was having a heart attack. Honestly, it was really disturbing. Anyway, I kind of caught up on that. That was cool. And then I'm a big football fan. So Amazon's new documentary, All or Nothing, Tottenham Hotspur. I watched the first 3 parts of that. Obviously, I'm a big Spurs fan, so that was good to watch, and just really good to see Jose Mourinho. My name is not Jose, I'm Jose. Tell the team, the Tottenham Hotspur team, that they're too nice, and you're gonna bleep me out when I say this, right? I'm gonna have to be bleeped. You have to be a bunch of. You are too nice. You have to be absolute bastards. I want you to be honestly, man, it's fucking insane. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So I'm going to watch the next 3 when they come out on Monday. So yeah, pretty good. Let's jump in to this week's listener question. This comes from friend of the show, Chris in Brighton, UK, not Brighton Beach, where the high stakes poker games were taking place.
No.
No. Hi, Phil and Miles. On a previous show, you mentioned that the pulse rifles used by the Colonial Marines in James Cameron's Aliens were your favorite gun sound effect. On this point, I'm interested to know, what are your favorite sound effects from movies over the years? Mine has to be hearing the seismic charge from Star Wars Attack of the Clones in cinemas when the film was released. What the bloody hell was a seismic charge from Star Wars Attack of the Clones, Phil? Any idea?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because believe it or not, I have some sound files for you.
I have detailed files.
So I'm going to play you a clip now of the seismic charge in Attack of the Clones. And I'd forgotten about it when he mentioned it. And I was like, what? But then when I saw the clip, I was like, oh, yeah, that was really cool. So here's a clip of the seismic charge going off in Attack of the Clones.
Seismic charges. Stand by.
I mean,
Synthy.
that's pretty meaty, isn't it?
That's
I mean,
pretty cool.
what you don't get in that sound clip is the fact that there's an awesome, like the explosion happens on screen first, and there's a really good silent pause before that huge explosion happens.
Yeah. The kind of delay
Yeah.
as the
And
explosion
that's a good noise. And I
reaches
think,
the limit of the speed of sound. Yeah.
oh yeah, if you want to get all scientific. But that is a good one.
I mean, Star Wars through the years has just, I mean, it's like the textbook for great sound effects, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple to play from Star Wars. If you want some more,
Go ahead. Let's hear them.
here's a classic that is, it's got to be one of the most iconic sounds from film of all time. I mean, it doesn't get more iconic than that, does it?
I love that.
And then, of course, in the Star Wars universe, you can't talk about Star Wars and sound effects without the one that everyone does, even with their mouth when they see this item on screen. It's great, isn't it?
For those who didn't see that, we're actually having a lightsaber duel right now in the virtual podcast booth.
I actually lost a hand in that. But it self-sealed itself because it was with the laser.
It's so satisfying, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it when that happens. Have you got... Do you want to give me some others?
Well,
Ones that you like?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I got a few. Most of them are from the 80s or early 90s. Proton packs powering up in Ghostbusters. Oh,
Yes, I can help you with that.
what the hell are you doing? Love that sound effect.
Yeah.
What about the DeLorean time machine as it's kind of powering up and driving around? Love that.
Yeah, I can help you with that. I mean, I think there's actually some time traveling involved in that.
Blimey.
As well.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And actually, an interesting fact, Phil, you might not know this, but it actually came, the sound of the DeLorean kind of driving around that actually came from Luke's land speeder in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
It did it.
It did. I thought you'd like that.
Oh, wow. That's a really interesting fact that I'm glad that you found out.
Yeah, I found it out all on my own. And then the pièce de résistance, the sound effect from 1993 that I remember freaking me out and watching my mum fly across the cinema, has to be the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Come on, play it for me.
Okay. Terrified.
Incredible. And you know that actually came from a lion, a crocodile, and a dog, all played in various. Yeah, all played.
I knew they mixed up animal noises. It's like they did with I think in Star Wars, and I didn't include this one, but the TIE Fighter, which is another great sound.
Yeah.
I think that's an elephant.
Is it?
I think it's the sound of an elephant slowed down, and I can't remember. I read that somewhere, I'm sure.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's such an iconic sound as well. I should really be on this.
With Jurassic Park, see, when you mentioned the T-Rex roar, I mean, that was terrifying at the time as a kid, sitting in the cinema and seeing the massive T-Rex. But I was a little bit more scarred, I think, by the scene in the kitchen with kids and the velociraptors.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to play a little sound clip of that.
Yeah.
It'll have a little bit of the stuff before, but it's great.
Timmy, what is it? It's a velociraptor. It's inside.
I mean, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying. It is actually. I love that. I love that scene so much. That scene in particular is bloody brilliant. And the actual sounds for that noise that actually came from mating turtles or tortoise. I think it might be tortoise. They kind of make this noise as they're pounding away.
Imagine that. You're in the wherever turtles are, and you're like, shit, it's fucking velociraptors.
No, you just hear, a turtle happens to go into the movie theater and sees the movie and hears itself shagging. I mean, it'd just be, you wouldn't want your mum hearing that, would you?
Not really.
Not really, no.
Moving on. I've got a couple more. So, actually, going back to Ghostbusters, this has to be one of the best.
Ecto 1.
The old Ecto 1, isn't it? I mean, I still don't know why. To be honest, I was a little bit disappointed when I came to visit you in New York that not all of the police cars and ambulances used that siren.
I know. And drove around in extra double time because in the movie it's sped up, isn't it? You see the steam coming out of the sewer super quick.
That's because a hearse isn't designed to go that fast.
If you honestly, I wasn't surprised when you came to New York that you were going to buy me a hearse and just park it outside my building, and I'd come down and you'd be there working on it or something. I
would have done that.
I know you would, because you are Ray Stantz and I, as you rightly are suggesting, Dr. Peter Venkman.
It's true.
I don't
like to admit it, but it
Dr.
is true.
Venkman.
So yeah, a couple more.
Yeah.
Because these are fun, aren't they?
Love them.
We mentioned the pulse rifle, so I've got the sound file of that because it still is, no argument, the coolest sounding gun from a film.
Still not cooler than Danny Glover's hand cannon from the Lethal Weapon films, but go ahead and play it.
Well, okay, I will. I disagree. It's so cool.
It's weird. I couldn't actually hear the sound of the pulse rifles because I think you maybe took your microphone into the toilet while you were relieving yourself, Phil.
After a Friday night curry.
I'm so sorry.
Another one I had to put in there because I always find them ridiculous, but they suit it, is the punch noises from Indiana Jones. They're like the wettest, slappiest sounding punches, aren't they? That you'll ever hear.
Like a shotgun going off.
It's odd. I think, and when I was getting these sound files, someone wrote a comment. It made me laugh, and it said, if it made that noise when I punch someone, I'd be punching everyone all the time. And it said something like men, women, and children wouldn't be safe.
Well, slightly disturbing.
Yeah, just a little bit. But here's the sound.
Oh, that's incredible.
They're so wet sounding.
I don't know if I'd use. There he goes again. I don't know if I'd use the term wet sounding, but yeah, I know what you mean.
And then we can't talk about film sound effects without featuring the most used. I think it's the most used. Well, it must be one of the most used sound effects of all time. The Wilhelm scream. It's still funny every time, and it's ever since I found out about that like years ago. I can hear it no matter what film it's in. You can hear it.
Yeah.
It just sticks out, but it sticks out, but never in a bad way.
I don't know. I'm a little bit done with the Wilhelm scream. That one and the other one.
Oh yeah.
I'm a bit done. I'm a bit done with those. I was done with that one after Broken Arrow when Christian Slater drop kicks the guy out the side of the train off the bridge. And he's just like,
Oh yeah. Oh that yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Bit done with it, but no, yeah, it's a classic, right? I mean, it was
It's
what it
been
came
used in
out.
everything, isn't it?
It was used in like I think originally like 1951 or something, and it didn't get used again.
I think it's from a
until,
Western, isn't it?
Yeah, and it didn't get
Western
used
film.
again till Brett Burt used it in Star Wars, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the original Star
because
Wars.
I think it's a guy getting shot with an arrow on a horse and falling off his horse.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that's the kind of noise I'd make if I found a horse pub.
That's the noise I'd make when you punch me with your wet hands while relieving myself from last night's curry. Yeah. Okay, I think we're done here. Are we done here? Did we answer the question, Chris?
I think so.
Oh, Chris isn't on the line. I don't know why I'm addressing him directly. Good stuff. So in this week's news, moving on to some really sad news. Obviously, the news that came trickling in over the weekend that the American actor Chadwick Boseman passed away at the age of 43. Apparently, he was suffering with stage 3 colon cancer, and he'd been dealing with it privately since 2015, which sadly progressed to stage 4 before 2020. And no one really knew about this. It was a real shock to everybody in not just the industry, also his friends. And the world at whole as well. He actually completed a lot of films while dealing with the condition, including the last 2 Avengers movies, Black Panther, the excellent Spike Lee joint The Five Bloods that we reviewed on one of our first podcasts, and also 21 Bridges. And he's going to be seen in his final movie later this year, posthumously, in Netflix's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is a film starring Viola Davis and obviously Chadwick, taking place in the 1920s Chicago. It sounds like a really interesting role. It's based on a play. So, obviously very sad news. And we interviewed a few weeks ago as well a young upcoming actor called Jeff Gann, who actually worked with Chadwick on both Black Panther and one of his biggest kind of breakout roles, which was 42. The Jackie Robinson movie, which was about the first African American to play Major League Baseball in the modern era. And obviously he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers and faced considerable racism in the process. That's when he really came to my attention. Obviously I knew Jeff through a friend, and I checked out that Brian Helgeland movie back in the day. That is really worth a watch. If anyone hasn't seen it, you don't necessarily have to be a baseball fan to watch that. So really sad news, and unexpected as well. And before even thinking about who's going to play Black Panther in the future and all that kind of thing, I think it's worth just taking stock of the performances that he's put in place, and go back and watch some of those films. So Chadwick Boseman then, who passed away at 43 this week. In some other sad news, although not quite as sad, but we saw coincidentally the trailer for Matt Reeves' The Batman, which dropped mere hours after last week's episode 10 of the Movie Mouth podcast was published. And in this case, we just found out that Robert Pattinson has been diagnosed with COVID-19 and has had to halt production on the movie. So really sad. Hopefully, obviously gets well soon. They actually had only just restarted the production after the COVID break. And they're actually filming up in Glasgow, Scotland, when they found out that he was tested positive. So he will no doubt be in isolation and in recovery. But obviously, we hope that Batman can kick COVID's ass, because COVID sucks. And we're looking forward to this movie after seeing this awesome trailer.
Yeah, if anyone could do it, Batman can, I'm sure.
So, some double sad news. Anything you've picked up on this week, Phil?
Yeah, just a couple of bits. So it was announced that The Mandalorian Season 2 has finally got a release date for new episodes. It's actually really soon. It's going to start streaming on Disney Plus on October the 30th.
Awesome.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do it in a similar way as how they did it before, because I think when it came out on Disney Plus, I think they put the first 2 up straight away, and then they released them. Was it weekly? I think.
Yeah, it was 1 episode a week, which just really drew it out for everybody. But it was a good idea because it was at the start of Disney Plus's launch, and they didn't want people just signing up, watching the whole thing, and then cancelling
leaving again. Yeah,
within the free subscription.
Complete business sense for that. But so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I really enjoyed season 1, and it obviously did very well for 15 Emmy nominations, etc. So that was The Mandalorian, and then just another quick one that for fans of Jason Statham. So he's teaming up with Guy Ritchie again for actually their 5th project together, and they're working on a new spy thriller called Five Eyes, which could be interesting. So he's an MI6 agent that's who's recruited.
Please tell me he's got 5 eyes.
I wish he did. I don't think so. He has got a great character name, though. Are you ready for this? His
Go
name
on.
is Orson Fortune.
Orson Fortune has 5 eyes.
Orson Fortune.
Yeah. You might have thought I didn't see you, but I got 5 fucking eyes in me head, and I see everything. My name's Orson Fortune. I can also tell your future. Cross me palm with silver.
Yeah. So that's coming out at some point. They've started working on it, basically, I think. So it could be interesting. I like Jason Statham.
I also like Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
I really like The
Guy
Gentleman.
Ritchie makes some amazing films. So they've been in.
Did you watch The Gentleman, his last one?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen that yet. No.
Oh, Ray, no. Don't stop it, Ray. Don't. Hugh Grant in that is absolutely incredible. You got to watch that movie. Ray, Ray, can I come up to your bedroom and watch you, Raymondo? Can I? Oh.
Yeah, because they've done Lock, Stock, Snatch, Revolver, and there's a new one coming out called Wrath of Man, which is an upcoming one that they're both in as well.
Okay. Star Trek: The Wrath of Man. 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 That's a reference for Star Trek to The Wrath of Khan, by the way, which is Khan.
Khan. Yeah, I got
Khan. Okay, cool. Just to be clear.
And that's it from my news.
Blimey, it's a lot of bloody news that you've got there, though, Phil. I've got to say, I'm quite impressed. So actual positive news for a change.
Yeah, I thought I'd try and, after the sad news, try and spin it a bit.
Lighten the mood. Yeah, lighten the mood.
Positively.
Trailers. So what have you been? Have you seen any good trailers this week?
Well, the trailers I saw this week, Miles, I saw with you.
Yes, you bloody did. We saw them together.
We saw them together.
Not on a virtual reality headset.
No.
Not on Zoom. Doing some crap quiz together. Drinking shots.
It was with our masks on.
With our masks on.
In an
we had
actual cinema.
Yes.
First
one. I mean, come on. No Time to Die. 007.
Yeah.
James Bond.
Yeah. That was it. I mean,
Action-packed. Action-packed. Bond he's never been more actiony.
No.
He was he's looking quite old, Daniel Craig.
He is, yeah.
Trim but old.
Yeah.
But he's swinging off bridges. He's flying in hybrid glider/submarines, dodging rolling cars, crashing over him in the woods,
jumping over bridges on a motorbike.
Oh yeah, he's jumped over a bridge on a motorbike as well.
Yeah, that's like my favourite bit of the trailer.
Was it?
That and the spinning machine gun Aston Martin.
That is pretty cool. It's super action. A friend of mine actually said that he believes that the Eon, the production company, have taken the kind of lead of the Mission Impossible franchise and the Avengers, kind of going all out in the trailers and showing this kind of insane level of stunts and all that kind of thing. And I agree. I'm looking forward to it ish. I don't know. I feel like this is a move for the mainstream, if that makes sense. I feel like they're definitely trying to align this more with a mainstream audience, which is good, which is a good thing. I think I might just be a little bit done with Daniel Craig's Bond.
Yeah, I think I might agree with you there. They're always good. Like when you go and watch, especially like modern Bond films, you expect to see some amazing like set piece stunts and some really good, just some really well choreographed stuff. But I don't know, it just gets a bit. I think it's because before that, not many people did it as much. But now, since Bourne and Mission Impossible and all the other big franchises and action films, it's sort of expected.
Yeah.
For you to have like a huge set piece. I don't know. But they always pull it off well, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They really do. I mean, maybe Spectre, not so much. But definitely looking forward to it. I love there was this shot right at the start of these kind of like a kind of SWAT team or like I don't know whatever, kind of going down the side of a building in London at sunset with like the sun setting, which looked really cool. Looked kind of very similar to a lot of shots from Sicario, for example, where they use the kind of sunlight and the sunset in that, which looked really, really nice. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, but obviously I'll go and see it, but I don't know if the excitement is still there for me. And then we saw, what was the other one we saw? Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, that was it. And I've not seen the original. I've not seen the other Wonder Woman, the first one, which I know I should remedy. You're going to tell me, aren't you? You're going to tell me off.
Were you wondering what was going on?
Not really. I mean, no, it just looked good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm quite surprised to see Steve Trevor, Chris Pine back. But I won't spoil the.
I mean, I don't know.
First one.
I was shocked to see him in the trailer because I didn't know he was in the first one.
Yeah, he's good, really good actually in the first one. As is Gal Gadot. I think this looks really good. Looks fun.
And she's got a new nemesis.
Yeah, played by Kristen Wiig. Kristen Wiig, which is pretty crazy. Seeing her in a serious role rather than in a comedy role. She plays Barbara Minerva, aka Cheetah, and we see her in full cheetah costume at the end of the trailer. Good to see the Mandalorian as well. Pedro Pascal is in this.
Yeah,
it seems to be some kind of big bad, aka Max Lord. But I don't know. It looks fun. I just feel like when they set these things in the 80s, like Stranger Things, that kind of thing, they really have to make it look authentic. And it looks too clean and too recent to be set in 1984. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a populist opinion or an idealized opinion of 1984. It doesn't feel like a kind of gritty, 80s set. Really, it just feels like it's now with our idea of what 80s clothes are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got parachute pants. Oh.
And a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, and a bum bag. No, it's not called a fanny pack. It's not called a fanny pack.
It's a bum bag.
No, exactly. So, but yeah, it looks good. I like the music as well in the trailer. It looks pretty cool. And then the other big one that we didn't see in cinemas, but obviously came off the back of DC's big kind of online conference this week, was the trailer for the new James Gunn Suicide Squad, or The Suicide Squad, which obviously is being released. Apparently, it's going to be released next year, in August next year. But this was more of a cast announcement trailer. But in it, we get to see that Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, will be back, surprisingly. So I wasn't sure if she was going to be in this. Interestingly as well, also is Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, who was also in the original one, along with Jai Courtney and Viola Davis. And in this case, actually, they're reprising their roles. But James Gunn had already said that this was kind of a reboot, kind of a continuation. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of deal with that as it kind of goes along. Big cast this one as well. Big Driss, we just talked about. Idris Elba's playing Bloodsport. Pete Davidson, who we reviewed his Judd Apatow movie a few weeks ago. He's in this as Blackguard. the amazing Nathan Fillion. I mean, you just don't mess with Nathan Fillion. Sean Gunn, which is really interesting. Sean Gunn is the director's brother, and he played Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And in this, he's playing Weasel, which almost looks like a kind of cynical kind of sideswipe at Marvel for firing James Gunn, obviously from that property, and now bringing him back to direct the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And of course, Michael Rooker, who's in every James Gunn movie ever, I believe, and he's always good. He of course is Yondu in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So huge cast. Oh, also John Cena is in there randomly as Peacemaker. So just a really interesting cast announcement trailer. The one person that we didn't get to see in this is Taika Waititi. We don't yet know who he's playing, but we do know he's playing a major role in it, but it wasn't announced here. So looking forward to seeing him appearing in future trailers in whatever guise he might be in. So that was the trailers. Moving on, the reviews. So we've got, as I mentioned, some huge reviews, and we'll start first off with Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Before we kind of go into the movie, I just want to say we're not going to spoil anything here. Phil, don't spoil anything, as you always do. Joking, it's usually me. But for those of you who follow our Instagram stories, you will have seen that Phil and I actually reviewed this in person together in a cinema. Not just any cinema, but the bloody BFI IMAX in London, boasting one of the largest screens in Europe, if not the world. How was it being back in a cinema, Phil?
It was good, I must say. It was really good to see a film, especially one as big as Tenet, and sort of as there was so much anticipation for it. I just think it was great to be in there, and it was a bit odd. It was a bit of an odd experience. There was empty seats, and there was I think I wore my mask the entire time through the film, which made it a bit odd, apart from when I was taking sips of beer. But yeah, I mean, it's a special cinema to see something like this in anyway. It's a great location. I think I said to you at the time, the last time I'd been to the IMAX in London, because I've been to others since, but last time I've been to that was to see all 3 Lord of the Rings films overnight.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was really good. It wasn't, luckily they weren't the extended versions. I don't think I could have taken that, but it was still good.
No, I know. I'd absolutely love the BFI. So when I lived in the UK, whenever there was a big release, I'd always be there. Favorite moments: I saw Dunkirk there twice, which nearly blew my ears off. Blade Runner 2049 I saw twice as well, which was absolutely amazing. Inception I saw there the first time I ever saw Inception. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol I saw there, which was also shot in part in IMAX. Those scenes where he's jumping out of the Burj Khalifa.
Oh yeah,
absolutely amazing. Wall to ceiling, floor to ceiling views of that was incredible. And then I also saw a really special Jurassic Park re-release in 4K 3D, I believe it was, a few years back before Jurassic World was released, and that was absolutely incredible. Just one of the greatest ever moments going to the cinema was seeing Jurassic Park the first time, and that was right up there. So it was. I mean, when you think about how far this film's been pushed back. It was originally supposed to be released in July, I believe, June, July. It got pushed back 3 times. So, we talked about this continuously on the podcast over the last few months, and actually getting to see it together in person in that cinema, it was a really special cinema going experience for me this year. So absolutely awesome. I'm glad that we could do it together.
Yep.
So as mentioned, we're not going to spoil this, but I'm just going to jump into the summary of Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Of course, this is again very spoiler free. So even in the story, I'm not going to kind of break that down in any way or give you much of a background on the characters. But armed with only one word, Tenet, and fighting for the survival of the entire world, a protagonist, played by John David Washington, son of Denzel, journeys through a twilight world of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. I don't know if that explains the story, but basically you could say this is a James Bond movie done by Christopher Nolan. So, with a super, super high IQ. We mentioned at the start of the podcast. There's a line in this movie which is basically don't try to understand it too much. Just kind of go along with it, and I think it's better for that if you actually do act like that with this film. The story is pretty complicated to start with. The way things are kind of laid out is also very exposition heavy because for the first half of the movie, you're basically just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And even actually, towards the end as well. But it is one of those films like Inception that, the more you kind of sit there with it and after it, the more you start to kind of understand it. What did you think of the kind of general story?
Yeah, I think what you said is pretty true. It's funny actually because I was on a long drive yesterday and I heard a radio advert for Tenet, and the way they describe it in their own radio trailer, is it's James Bond on acid, and I thought that's quite a good
It's James
description.
Bond and Lucy in a bloody sky with diamonds. Tangerine trees all appear on the shore.
It is. I think the "don't try and understand it" line. I think that rubbed some people up the wrong way from reviews I've read. It's just like, well, if one of the characters can tell you to don't try to understand it, how are we meant to understand it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that scene in particular, there's a whole expositional scene where the protagonist, John David Washington, is learning about this. Again, we're not going to go into it, but this kind
it's
of
completely
time...
all in the trailer, though. That scene,
yeah, that is it is. So,
scene, yeah.
It's the scene where it's he's firing the gun, and instead of firing the gun, he's quote unquote catching the bullets. It's that scene, and it is that for me it takes place about maybe a third of the way into the movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it, and not only did I hate that entire scene, all of the exposition, I also hated the performances in that scene. Other than that, I think the performances were very good, but don't try and catch the bullet because you haven't dropped it yet. It was very Matrix-like. At any minute, I was expecting Neo to walk out and go, "Whoa,
whoa!"
It was that, and very dry, very deadpan, and I think it lost a few people. I think I could hear a few people laughing at that scene in the theater around me. I know I was.
I mean, it did scramble my brain. I think I'll say that it scrambled my brain quite a lot, but it didn't detract. I never found myself bored of the film. It didn't detract from me watching it because, we were watching on that an amazing screen with the amazing sound that you get along with that, but you're also watching Christopher Nolan visuals, which are always really striking anyway. So it doesn't matter how complicated it was or how complicated it gets. Yes, I need to watch it again to do another pass on it, just to try and guess what the hell's going on. But someone said to me at the end of that I didn't get it. I didn't like it. It was rubbish. I was like, but one, I didn't understand it as much as I could have done, but I'd watch that any day over another run-of-the-mill horror or romantic comedy.
Not even comparable. Yeah,
at least like it's something that is completely different.
You've never seen
new idea. Never seen
action set piece wise. You've never seen anything like it.
No,
never,
not at all.
Never.
And it's the fact that it's a true, it's an original idea, and it makes you think. And I'd way rather go and watch something I don't understand 50% of than, as I said, another run-of-the-mill action or something.
Yeah, and I liked, I liked how afterwards, this is a kind of film that in this day and age that we need. We need a film that we can watch, we can sit down with friends afterwards, have a beer, and talk about it. How long has it been since you've done that? Really, that you've a film that you've really, invested time in, and you're trying to figure it out, and this comes from a quality source, comes from a great director, great auteur, and is executed incredibly to the point where people don't necessarily understand it. I think going back and watching it again is going to be, is going to give people the ability to do that. I think other people will have just given up within the first half. And to be honest, I'll be honest, first 40 minutes or so, I was very close. I was very close to feeling like this it just wasn't for me. And I really like Christopher Nolan. I'm hit and miss with some of the big ones. Much publicized. Not a huge fan of The Dark Knight. But in this, I was really scared. And then it kind of hits that halfway point, and the genius starts to kind of unravel, and you start to see what's going on, and you start to kind of figure things out. And again, it's not a twist. It's not something you have to sit there kind of worrying that you're not catching it. It's just go with it, which is, I guess, the whole point. So yeah, and I mean, visuals wise, Hoyt van Hoytema, who is the cinematographer on this, he was the cinematographer on Interstellar as well, on Dunkirk. I've been a huge fan of his cinematography since Let the Right One In, the Swedish vampire movie.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Interestingly, he also did Spectre as well. But I'm a big fan of his. I think it just looks stunning. The shots over Capri, the island of Capri, when they're kind of perched up on this kind of cliff. Wow, the boats, the huge yachts out in the bay, and all those scenes. I mean, again, not I don't want to spoil any of the set pieces, but just some stuff that just looked incredible. And I was sitting next to another friend, and he was just like, "Wow, like this looks stunning."
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowing. And I think this is the kind of thing you have to see on a big screen. Don't wait for it to be on Netflix, because it's just not going to give you the impact of the spectacle that's there. And if you're okay about going out into the real world right now and sitting down in a cinema which is socially distanced and you have a mask, then I mean, what is this film? It's a huge recommendation, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You want to see something different. You want to see something that looks amazing, sounds amazing, and gets you thinking. Get along to a cinema when you can.
I'm almost looking forward to doing a movie store corner section of it, so I can watch it again and we can discuss it in full, understanding everything, and
Yeah.
And of course, the first part is called time. The second part is called catching the bullet. The third part is called if you didn't catch the bullet, you got to drop it.
my brain.
Sir Michael's in there. Sir Michael Caine is in there somewhere. Check it out. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go to the small screen now, from the biggest screen to the smallest. HBO's new period horror TV show, Lovecraft Country, produced by the amazing Jordan Peele of Us and Get Out fame, and created by Misha Green. This series is based on a book by Matt Ruff of the same name. It takes place in a pre-civil rights era south side of Chicago, where we find our protagonist Atticus dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder after a stint fighting overseas in Korea. Here, returning to his childhood home to find his father. Only he's missing, with just a few clues as to where he went. This stars Jonathan Majors as Atticus, or Tick, Journey Smollett as strong female lead Letty, and Courtney B. Vance as Uncle George. Really unusual format, this. It's kind of part narrative, part anthology series. So everything's connected. They're the same characters, but in each episode, the theme changes ever so slightly. It's really, really unusual. Not really seen anything like it. And to put it bluntly, the opening first minute sees Tick, or Atticus Tick, racing across a battlefield, fighting Cthulhu-like tentacle beasts and dodging spaceships, before Jackie Robinson appears, swinging his baseball bat and ripping a giant creature in half. Literally, this is the first minute. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Really, really strange. Episode 1 is I watched 3 episodes of this. Episode 1's kind of a road trip on the road to kind of find the father, expertly directed by Yann Demange, who directed 71 and Top Boy, if you ever saw that on Netflix. He was also courted, funnily enough, for Bond movies in recent years, so he's definitely a big name. And it was great. Loved episode 1. It's set in this kind of, as I mentioned, pre-civil rights era. Loved all of the kind of political tone, really relevant for now. Didn't feel too kind of like hammered into the plot until And I'm again not going to spoil this, but an almost like from dusk till dawn shift from civil rights era road movie into all out fucking horror. Really weird, really, really unusual. To be honest, if episode 2 wasn't already available, I would have just given up. I watched episode 2. This takes a slightly different tone, delves into witchcraft and cultish wizardry, a format that I absolutely despise. To be honest, episode 2 I really was kind of done with. And again, I don't know why, but episode 3 was just there and it just auto played on HBO. And episode 3 is like a haunted house show with Letty as the kind of primary character. She kind of buys this kind of like board house and opens it up for African Americans in a predominantly white area of Chicago. And it's almost like the plot didn't happen, but it kind of did, but it's kind of moved on a little bit. It's really, really weird. I love the production values. The period setting is awesome. Civil rights focused elements also really cool. But it kind of just feels like they've bolted on these horror elements to this awesome kind of story and these amazing characters. It's really jarring. It goes from a really serious subject of racism and violence to then monsters ripping people apart and a giant basketball playing man ghost with a baby's head scaring people.
Wow.
It's so weird. It's so weird. It's really unusual. I'm not sure if it's absolute genius or really, really, really terrible. Episode 4 is coming this weekend on HBO, which I heard has a Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe. And apparently episode 5, which is supposed to be a balls to the wall gore fest and the best episode of the season, is also coming. So I'm looking forward to those, but I'm also not. I've never been so divided on a show. If it had only that one episode to watch, I would have immediately given up. Honestly, I had a friend text me telling me to watch it, and I watched it, and we both had the same opinion. He didn't continue on into episode 3. I did. And I was thinking about whether or not to give this a thumbs up. To be honest, I couldn't take my eyes off it. So it is a recommendation for me, albeit under duress of it potentially being the worst thing HBO have put out in years or the best. I just don't know.
I like the sound of it. I think I'm going to have to try it.
Give it a go. Give it a go. But you have been warned.
Fair enough.
So, speaking of weird comings and goings, up next is Bill and Ted Face the Music. 31 years after having an excellent adventure and 29 after their bogus journey, Ted, Theodore, Logan, and Bill S. Preston, Esquire finally return. This sees the ruler of the future telling best friends Bill and Ted that they must compose a new song to save reality as we know it. But instead of writing it, they decide to travel through time to steal it from their older selves. Meanwhile, their young daughters devise their own musical scheme to help their fathers bring harmony to the universe. What did you think about this, Phil?
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Maybe not 30 years, but since I saw they were doing it, I thought, well, why not? It could be fun. You know, a lot of things you think, oh, there's no need, don't bother. But this is just a wholesome, fun film, isn't it? There's no like agendas being pushed with it. It's humor's nice and clean. It's just an enjoyable hour and a half. It's not going to win any awards. Let's put it that way. But it's and I think you do have to be a fan of the first two really to watch it. I think if you came into this having never seen a Bill and Ted film, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
Some bits I just found really not that funny, and some I did find quite funny.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah, I mean, take on board all of that. I think it's kind of critique free. Like, this is not a hateful movie. You cannot hate this film. There's nothing about this film that you shouldn't necessarily not like.
No,
It's you know what I mean? It's not a bad film. by any stretch. It's a fairly, low budgeted film. And I love seeing the Orion kind of title card come up at the beginning from all the classic
the
Orion
old school
movies of
one,
the
yeah,
80s and
that was
90s.
good.
Yeah, that was really cool. Nostalgia to the max on this one. Funny what you say about people having to watch the originals. I actually watched it with someone who hadn't seen the originals, and they really enjoyed it. They thought it was really funny just seeing these two doofuses kind of go about their lives and go into the future and so on. So interestingly to note, not necessarily just for nostalgia heads, but fun. And actually, I wasn't too frustrated with the daughter's side quest because I was kind of thinking, oh, here we go,
Yeah.
handing over. I actually quite liked it. Quite
I
enjoyed
did,
that.
yeah.
I actually was enjoying that possibly more than Bill and Ted's quest.
Yeah, I was actually.
Was pretty cool. I think that some of the effects are really bad. I think
They are actually, yeah, I noticed that quite a lot.
Yeah, I don't think the performances were generally that great across the board, really, from anyone, including Keanu Reeves. But then, they kind of played like that in the original anyway,
Yeah.
And when you think about that, it's kind of a wonder that he's had the career he's had, because people could immediately just assume that's his acting. Like do you know what I mean? That's who he is. The way
where he just can't stop like bouncing on the spot, like
Yeah,
nodding his head.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, cool.
Not a particularly funny script. I don't think there was much really in this that was kind of written that was that hilarious. I don't think the previous two were really that funny anyway. Were they? Were they really?
Well, that's what I was trying to think, because I've not seen them both for a while, and I think I'm going to go and rewatch them now. But I was thinking trying to think like how you're always going to have a different spin on them, because we would have grown up with them and we would have seen them as that sort of like cult film, from the early 90s that was out then. So, but I was trying. That's exactly what I was trying to think when I was watching it. I was like, are the other ones like this sort of kind of humor in it?
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
That I don't really think they are. I think it's just very, very childish. And that's okay. That's kind of what you got here. But it still left me with a nostalgic smile on my face.
Yeah.
Although not many laughs. Yeah. Favorite moments though. We see him in the trailer, but William Sadler returning as Death. I thought he was awesome, really petulant and put upon.
Yeah.
And we find out
he's always good.
He's been kicked out of the band for his Spinal Tap 35-minute jazz bass solos.
Bass solos, yeah. I love it.
And also hilarious as well. I really liked Anthony Corrigan as the death robot, Dennis Caleb McCoy.
Yeah, I think he's got the funniest part of the film, to be honest.
Which part?
Well, it'll be a spoiler if I say it, so I don't think I can. Yeah. But after he makes a mistake, and then he makes a mistake and then apologizes for it, and I just thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was really good. Anthony Corrigan, he's actually brilliant. Have you seen the HBO comedy Barry?
No.
So this is, for all our listeners out there, this is the Bill Hader starring hitman comedy Barry on HBO, where a hitman from the Midwest moves to Los Angeles, and he kind of tries to shirk being a hitman and tries to become an actor in LA. And Anthony Corrigan is in this as the incredible Hank, who's just absolutely brilliant. His delivery is brilliant. So if you liked him in this, you should definitely check out Barry. So in general, then, I don't think it was worth the 29-year wait to catch up with the boys. But it was still fun. I still enjoyed myself. I think it's one, have a few beers, a bottle of wine, a few margaritas, and you're going to get some laughs out of it. But maybe don't expect it to be everything. This is available now on video on demand, so you can buy this, download this, rent it, Amazon Prime, Apple, these kind of places. So check that out if you are that way inclined. And now, finally, we move to everybody's favorite section. It is Video Store Corner. And this week, we have the seminal, the classic sci-fi action-adventure Stargate from 1994, directed by Roland Emmerich of Independence Day, 2012, Universal Soldier, Godzilla, The Day After Tomorrow, Midway. And what was that one that was about Shakespeare not being Shakespeare and running around doing stuff in London? Can't remember what it was called.
Well,
Yes, yeah, he directed that as well. It will
Oh.
come to me. It will come to me, and I will scream in your face when I remember it. But this one was recommended to us by a friend of mine in New York, Robert Altamore, who is an absolutely genius film lover. He told me, get back on this. You need to see it. I actually hadn't seen Stargate since the 90s, believe it or not.
me either. I can't
Wow.
remember any of it.
Me too. Me too. In fact, I watched it this morning and I still don't remember anything about it, but I'll give you the plot summary. An interstellar teleportation device found in Egypt leads to a planet with humans resembling ancient Egyptians who worship the god Ra. An extra planetary mission is sent into the Stargate by James Spader's Dr. Daniel Jackson and Kurt Russell's Colonel Jonathan O'Neill, or Jack O'Neill, to basically find out what is on the other side of the Stargate. Phil, what did you think of this movie?
Oh, I enjoyed it. It's fine. As a 90s action. It was. I think it started like more excitingly than it finished. It was just like I really like the idea of
Here's a question.
Stargate.
Here's a question. Here's a question. Right.
Go on.
Before the film kind of elaborated on where they were going to go,
Yeah.
what were you imagining was going to be on the other side of the Stargate? I'll be honest. When I watched this in the 90s, I didn't even remember what was on the other side. I vaguely remember some dude with silver pharaoh, gold pharaoh hat on headpiece thing.
Yeah, I remember like the dog
But
with the
what
light
were
up
you-
eyes face.
What were you thinking was going to be on the other side of the Stargate?
I just thought it would be more
Exciting.
more exciting, just more Egypt, more like the Mummy.
It's just a shitload of sand, isn't it? At the end of the
It's
day,
just that and a big
they
group
get
of
to the other
people.
side. It's just a shitload of sand. There's no like, Avatar. Think Avatar. Oh, he goes inside an Avatar, and now all of a sudden he's blue. And look, the world is all these plants and magical dragons flying people around, and everything's talking. Nature's talking to itself. No, this is just a endless fucking desert of sand with one pyramid and one place where a load of Egyptian people are now living and basically constructing a pyramid.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. Well, you missed out about the flying pyramid and the
Elaborate, please.
Well, Ra is the sun god. Ra is actually an alien, isn't he? We find out quite early on. He's an alien, and he's taken the form of the sun god Ra so that people worship him because he's trying to stay alive. Basically, he's trying to keep eternal youth, and he drives.
He's a grey alien, wasn't he? He was a grey.
He's grey, very grey. He looks like he looks basically when they
Paul.
show you the bits where you see the alien,
He looks like Paul.
like one of the ones from Cocoon.
Yeah, he does. He looks like Paul.
Paul, yeah, basically,
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
By the way, Paul is basically a movie about me and Phil if we ever found an alien. Drive across the desert to Comic-Con
Yeah, definitely.
in an RV. So Paul basically decides to become a human to save his skin.
Yeah, he does, and he just drives around in his pyramid-shaped spaceship.
What is he doing?
And he
What is he
lands on
doing?
top of other pyramids.
Now that he's got like eternal life or whatever, why is he driving around, flying around space in his giant pyramid, like sitting on top of other pyramids and doing nefarious things? What is he actually doing?
I can't actually remember. That's the problem.
Well, the whole point was he wanted eternal life. He got eternal life, and then
and
then he's just floating around in his giant
Yeah,
pyramid.
but why is he making them build another pyramid?
No idea. He just likes them to be servants because they said, "Oh, he left Earth because all these years ago because there was an uprising and the Egyptians overthrew the Ra's, soldier people, and they found the fossils, didn't they, of the trampled fossil men."
Yeah.
How long does it take fossils to be created, by the way? Because that was like, what was that, 10,000 years in the past?
Isn't it meant to be like 75 million or to 100 million? I don't know.
So they turned to stone in 10,000 years, basically. But anyway, it was unusual. I don't really know what his mission was other than just building a shitload of pyramids.
No. I think there's two things I loved about this film. One was
Just the two.
Just the two. Number one, and you made a comment about this, was Kurt Russell's
haircut. Yes.
Kurt Russell's haircut.
Aim for the flat top.
I mean, because when you first see him in the film, he hasn't got that haircut. He's like got sort of like a cool, sort of longish.
He's doing a Martin Riggs, isn't he? He's doing
Yeah.
a Martin Riggs from Lethal Weapon. He's sitting on his bed, looking at a picture of his child with basically a gun in his hand, about to blow his brains out.
Yeah,
Deep for a family sci-fi adventure.
it is a bit, isn't it?
And he's got long back. He's got long hair, isn't he?
He's got long hair, and I thought, well, he looks all right. Looks pretty cool, sort of.
And then he turns up with what can only be described as Guile from Street Fighter.
That's exactly, that is 100% what I thought immediately.
You could literally cut yourself on his hair. It's
As I
such a
said to
sharp
you,
flat top.
if he sat down next to you, you could rest your pint on it and it wouldn't spill.
You definitely could.
It was like it looked like a Premier League football pitch. It was flat as flat can be.
It was. You've got some real zip on it when you kick the ball. Do you think Colonel O'Neill would like you resting your pint on his head? On his hairstyle?
No.
Get
Not at
your
all.
damn pint off my goddamn flat top.
He'd break me.
He would. He breaks everyone in this film. He's not a nice guy. It took a long time for me to figure out whether he was good or bad in this.
Well, he's not
Because
really
he beats the shit out of people that they're trying to shut the door. These nice, indigenous folk that have saved him from a sandstorm, and he's like smacking their head on the door.
Yeah, it
knocking
didn't
them
take
out.
long, did it? They overreacted pretty quickly.
And then he's shooting at their feet, making them dance.
Yeah.
So that was number one thing that you loved, was Kurt Russell's haircut. Okay, so I'm guessing number two is going to be a really, really good thing if that was the first thing you loved.
It's not, though. Because number two, when they arrive in ancient Egypt, and
Yes.
the first thing they find is that weird horse-like creature.
Yes,
it's sort of like a cross
panther.
between like a...
It's like a bantha, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a bantha, from Star Wars. And there's a bit where James Spader's character, so he gets attached to it and it sort of drags him through the desert, doesn't he?
Yeah. And then
And
it
I
like
was
licks
like-
their face and farts.
I was like, that's pretty cool. I wonder... and the first thing I was thinking while that was happening, because it goes on for a little bit, was, I wonder how they did that, because it looks quite good. And then I realised that the only way that it's possible to do that was to dress a horse up in a costume. So they dressed a horse in this...
Is that
weird-
real?
Yes, because you look at it, it's not a model, and I've read it since then in my trivia, which is coming up. They didn't. Apparently, dogs were used for a part of it. Dressed up dogs.
Dressed up dogs dragged James Spader through the desert.
It
Or
was
just
real
from a distance?
horses with external costumes draped over them.
They must have been
Because you
so
see it,
hot.
and it's actually full size. Like, they're dragging the guy through. It's a stunt. A horse.
For the
is dragging a guy
listeners,
on a
these
rope.
are like big hairy things, big hairy like camel type,
alien. things.
alien cow things, and one of them drags James Spader off through the desert.
Actually, that's the other thing I've not thought about. Why is it not just a horse?
I don't
Why,
know.
if they've gone back to ancient Egypt, why did these mythical creatures suddenly exist?
No, they haven't gone back to ancient Egypt. They've gone to another planet where.
Oh, where ancient Egyptians are.
Yes.
Oh, God. That's right. Oh, it's another planet. Oh, fuck, I love the film now.
Hence why it's called fucking Stargate, and hence why I'm saying to you, what did you imagine was going to be on the other side of this Stargate? Was it going to be something unimaginable that you've never seen, or was it just going to be a shitload of sand that looks like any old desert on our planet?
The Mummy.
Exactly. The only thing that was different on this planet were the fucking horses that were these weird, fucking hairy, vulgar, farting, licking, salivating creatures.
Hence my confusion.
Yeah. No, but you make a really good point, and that's the whole point. Like this planet that they go to, it is so bland and boring, and like they may as well have just gone back in time to ancient Egypt.
I didn't have the budget, did they?
No. But I mean, they had the budget to do something better, surely. I mean, it was so bland, so bland. I found it so boring. These parts were so boring.
It did drag a little bit.
Oh my god! Yeah, no wonder I don't remember it as a kid, because it is the only things I really remembered were James Spader and with his like mop top like long cut bangs and glasses.
Yeah.
And vaguely Kurt Russell. And to be honest, when I watched this again, I couldn't remember if Kurt Russell was the guy with the mop top and the glasses or not. I wasn't sure. I was like, was Kurt Russell the guy? That's how little I remembered this film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad film. There's no bad performances. There's like the effects are generally pretty good. Apart from Ra's eyes. When he's scrambling people's brains.
I've got a fact to say about that in a minute.
He goes all Christopher Lloyd from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Tunes!
Thought he was going to get run over by a steamroller and his eyes are going to pop out.
His legs were going to curl up like paper.
Tunes! Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what else is weird. Roland Emmerich, he always chooses really unusual people in his movies. Like there's always something like Jeff Goldblum in Independence Day, for example. Kind of strange casting choice. You know what I mean? Like in a huge blockbuster. James Spader is in this huge blockbuster. Like he's basically the main star because Kurt Russell.
He's the lead, yeah.
He's the lead. He's the lead here. How did that happen? And also,
I don't know.
Where did James Spader go for like 25 years? Because
I know.
After that, where was he? Where's he been? I remember
he's done a lot of TV stuff, hasn't he? Since
but like he was actually really good in this. I thought he was actually really good. Like his performance was assured, and I believed that he was this kind of slightly crazy out there scientist that had all these theories, but was actually kind of proven true and could speak this native, indigenous language, but then disappeared. I mean, I remember really from being a kid seeing him in this. I think the next time I remember, or I vaguely remember, was in that soft porn classic Secretary opposite Maggie Gyllenhaal, where he's an absolute BDSM pervert, whipping people, spanking people, and all that. And then
he's stuck on another planet.
Yeah, he generally does. He gets stuck on it. That's where he's been. He's been on Ra's planet for the last 20 years because he stays with his quote unquote wife, doesn't he?
He does.
Which is even stranger because after this, I actually streamed the first episode of the Showtime / sci-fi TV series Stargate SG1 to find out what happened to the titular professor and the colonel. And well, firstly, they've significantly shapeshifted because Kurt Russell, of course, is no more in that role. James Spader, obviously, also the same. But for no apparent reason, it just starts and Dr. Jackson and Jack O'Neill are back in the Stargate, control room or whatever, fighting things that are coming through the Stargate. It's never really explained as to why. But maybe
is that
later
where it
on
starts? So
yeah,
as they've gone back through it.
Yeah, and they're now like a task force SG1 assigned with taking out things that are traveling through this now active Stargate from other galaxies.
Right.
And it kind of just starts, and it's like kind of played for laughs as well. It's really weird. There's lots of like sly like looks at each other and all that kind of thing. Like when people are saying things, it's really weird.
You know what else is weird was the what's his name, French Stewart, the guy from Third Rock from the
Yeah.
Sun.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Third Rock from the Sun. I
Playing-
can't quite open my eyes properly.
Playing like a hard military type. I was like, what?
Yeah, he had really skinny arms, didn't he? Really like, puny little arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Ferretti, wasn't it? Ferretti.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, he made it out alive at the end, didn't he?
Yeah.
God knows how.
And apparently he is actually in an episode of SG1, I think.
Is he?
I think he's like the only person from the original film that's ever been in anything to do with Stargate since the film.
That's interesting. That is
something
interesting.
like that. Don't hold me to that. But
I was thinking like the cast of this. It was quite an unusual cast because a lot of unknowns as well, kind of going into it. I guess many of the people that were in this were fairly unknown, so it's a pretty major production. But I guess Kurt Russell was the kind of big name that they got on this. I really liked though Vivica Lindfors, who played Catherine Langford, the kind of elderly scientist that recruits James Spader. I thought she was really great, and I kind of went back through her history and her career. She's a Swedish-born actress who she was I think she was around 73, 74 when this film came out. And she's born in Sweden. She was brought to Hollywood in 1946 by Warner Brothers in the hope that she would be the new Greta Garbo or Ingrid Bergman. And her first Hollywood film was opposite Ronald Reagan in Don Siegel's Night Unto Night. I just thought that was a really cool bio. Really kind of old school Hollywood.
Yeah, that's full Hollywood era, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought she was great in this. I really liked her in this. She's really beautiful, kind of 73-year-old.
She's really good
as well.
Although it did annoy me when she said that she was like, "Oh, I found this," or my father discovered this or something. About the necklace with Ra on it. She didn't. She nicked it from a guy. Like when she got
she
there.
stole it. Yeah, she was an entitled little brat in 1923 or whenever it was.
She stole it, and then she still holds up that she found it, or she.
Oh my God. Yeah, I found the eye of Ra. I guess she was pretty old. She probably didn't remember. But another interesting fact. So Jay Davidson, who played Ra. So basically, this is the guy who was a guy in ancient Egypt. Aliens came. He ran towards the pyramid. Everyone ran away. So Ra, who was the little space alien, the grey alien, decided to steal his body, and that was it. He now becomes the bad guy. Yeah. He was in a number of films through the years, and actually, by the time it came, I believe, to this picture, he had been in The Crying Game, kind of starring in The Crying Game, and was actually Oscar nominated, believe it or not.
Yeah,
for Best Supporting Actor coming into this.
But if you look at his filmography, and funnily enough, so I'm going to give you some trivia in a minute, and most of it is to do with how awkward of a person he apparently was, Jay Davidson.
Oh, really? Well, it's interesting you say this because he's more of a fashion designer and photographer. So so he was actually less of an actor, which is why he's had barely any credits in his entire career. So he's much more involved in that, and he's done kind of campaigns for Gap and all kinds of other kind of fashion designers and fashion houses as well. Since then, yeah.
Well, let me reel off some of these facts to you then from my trivia corner. So you mentioned
Phil's Trivia Corner with your host, Phil.
So you mentioned it earlier, Ra's glowing eye.
No, I said glowing eyes, not his glowing eye. You just made it sound really dirty.
Oh, look at Ra's glowing eye.
Yeah, love. 50 quid to touch Ra's glowing eye.
Oh, God. Ra's glowing eye effect was added.
Ra's growing eye.
Stop it. So to explain it, there's scenes in it where he sort of gives you a shifty look and then his eyes light up.
Gives you a shifty look.
He does. He just looks to the side and he's like, when he's angry and his eyes light up.
Yeah. He gets those toon eyes, yeah.
Yeah, but that was added in post-production, believe it or not.
No shit. I thought he had the skill himself. Jay Davidson. That's
glow
how
his
did he get
eyes.
the part? He just gave him a shifty look, and then his eyes started glowing.
They were like, "You're hired." But they added that because apparently test audiences didn't think that he was alien enough. Like there was nothing about him that was like alien, apart from when they show you the X-ray of the alien.
Okay.
Yeah, so they added that in post-production after it was done because they thought, oh, okay, that'll make him look a bit more alien-like if we make his eyes glow at certain points.
I liked his androgyny. He was very androgynous. I like that. It was a very sexual role. I liked him. He was kind of there was he used a lot of sex in his role with some of the scenes with Kurt Russell and James Spader. I quite like that.
Yeah, and he's also like surrounded by like a lot of naked young people, like half naked, and apparently that was done on purpose to make the audience feel a bit uneasy about him.
Yeah, that was good.
Here's a good one. James Brown's scream from the song I Feel Good was used as a sound effect in the scene demonstrating the alien taking control of the young boy's body.
Ow!
I wish they left I Feel Good
Was
in
it
there
that
after
one?
as well. Yeah.
Ow!
I don't know. I guess so.
I feel nice, sugar and spice. I'm inside a young boy from Egypt. Actually, that sounds really wrong.
Oh, God. Moving swiftly on, wardrobe and cinematography had to work around Jay Davidson's nipple rings because he refused to remove them.
Had to work around or walk around?
I hope it's both. Like
how big
giant
were they?
nipple rings.
Yeah, sorry, I'll just walk around there.
I'm not removing it. I'm not removing it. You'll have to take it out in post-production. Yep, so you wouldn't remove them, so that the wardrobe had to work around that.
Okay.
Another Jay Davidson fact: he despised the costumes he wore so much that on the last day of shooting his scenes, after hearing the final cut, he stripped naked on the set without going to his trailer. And moreover, Davidson retired from acting after completion of this film. Since 1994, he has only appeared in the Borghild project in 2009, which was a 17-minute film.
That is hysterical. That is hysterical.
Just hated the costumes, so he just stripped naked after he said.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a. I think he's a bit of a, a bit of a diva. It sounds like, obviously works in the fashion industry and that kind of thing. But,
that's sort of yeah. I think you're right. And then the last one, so it says the early pre-release screenings of the film were not good. The percentage of the audience who liked the movie fell into the mid-30s. And executive producer Mario Casar realized the main problem was that the plot made zero sense. His solution was to have Ra's character's dialogue subtitled and made into information that presented a clear storyline instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was successful in that.
Yeah, I think it worked.
Well, it says we don't know what he was doing. We don't know why he was doing what he was doing. It didn't really.
No,
it wasn't even. We don't know why he was doing. Like, what was he doing? He already had eternal life. What's he doing?
It's just messing about. He's bored.
Still don't get it. I think yeah. I mean, this film it did make zero sense. I also felt like it didn't feel very. This is going to sound stupid. It didn't feel very realistic. But primarily because like when you're watching these real world humans, especially like these whatever they are, Marines or whatever, led by Kurt Russell, they're all running around with their MP5 Heckler and Koch submachine guns, just like one armed, just like running around with holding them like Kurt Russell literally never raises his machine gun to his shoulder throughout this whole movie. He's literally firing from the hip throughout this whole. Cool. It does look cool, but I just like, come on, man! Like, even his salute at the end when the little kids are all like saluting him, like da da, they're all like saluting him, and he does this really crap salute that if you've been in the military, you do not just have a thumb sticking out like on the top of your head. It was just like
he was tired, wasn't he?
It was
off some ancient.
It was all a bit Dad's Army, is what it was. But I would say one big positive for this, David Arnold's score. I thought the score for this was really, really solid. The
was
music,
actually,
yeah, it was. And some really interesting note on that. Obviously, David Arnold, if you're not familiar, he's a British composer. He went on to compose all of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. So he became the go-to kind of Bond musician, composer. I think his last one, if I'm not wrong, was oh gosh, I think it was. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was Quantum of Solace. I think it was Casino Royale as composer. But I thought he's absolutely brilliant on this movie. He also went on to do Independence Day.
Your favourite.
And Godzilla for Roland Emmerich. But really interestingly, so he was working as a clerk in a record store in England when he was recommended to compose the score for this film. Apparently on the DVD's commentary track, Dean Devlin, the writer, producer, and Roland Emmerich admit that they were a bit nervous after hiring him since his scoring experience at the time was limited to a few short films and only one full-length movie. However, obviously their doubts were gone as soon as they heard what he'd composed, which was obviously absolutely incredible. Emmerich and Devlin went on to state that the quality of Arnold's score for the movie is best exemplified by the countless times that it was then reused in trailers, TV spots, and programs throughout the years. And obviously landed him, beyond this. This was 94. Then landed him the Bond gig beyond that as well. So really, really interesting. Really did like the score for this.
To be fair, like considering I hadn't seen this since the 90s, I don't think, unless it's I might have it might have been on TV and I'd watched like the odd 10 minutes of it or something like that, but not remembered it. When the music started and the opening credits, I recognised it straight away.
Yeah, me too.
It was definitely like a memorable theme that I've heard before.
Yeah.
So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, no, I thought that was without a doubt the best thing in the film. One other little piece of intrigue, which comes from actually talking about Guardians of the Galaxy earlier. James Spader, Kurt Russell, and Jimon Onsu, who played one of the kind of Ra's kind of henchmen in this. They all ended up playing villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Onsu played Korath in Guardians of the Galaxy. Spader played, of course, Ultron. There are no strings on me. And Kurt Russell played Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah.
Ego the Living Planet, I think you'll find is the correct character name. Thank you. So yeah, really interesting. I to be honest, I think with Waterworld was a film that I was surprised that I liked watching it again. This is a film I was sure I was going to like. When I recommended it to you, I thought this is going to be pretty cool. One to kind of go back and rewatch, and it has held up well. It still looks pretty good, after 20 odd years.
Yeah, there's not much about it that looks terrible, really.
No. But it's just a bit boring. It's just they could have done so much more with this. I mean, possibly my favorite moment of the film is when Kurt Russell kicks the ass of one of Ra's henchmen. He's about to have his head ripped off. Actually, you actually see his head get ripped off, and you see the head kind of sitting there decapitated, don't you? Which was pretty harsh for a PG movie. Yeah. But when he's about to have his head ripped off, he says, "Give my regards to King Tut, asshole."
He's like, who?
Just you're an absolute psycho. Do you know what I mean? And also, I think you'll find it was King Tutankhamun. But anyway, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Would you ever watch that again?
Not in a hurry, but
yeah,
there's stuff I'd watch far less than that.
Well, I do quite want to watch Stargate SG1. I want to know what happened to James Spader on that planet. He's just stuck there with all those people that don't have toothpaste and toothbrushes. Like everyone's breath is going to stink.
And he gave his last chocolate bar away.
He gave his last chocolate bar. It was, in fact, a Hershey's Fifth Avenue, which, living in the US, I have never seen, ever. But I really want one. It looked really crumbly when he gave it to the Egyptian guy.
So crumbly.
It was really crumbly. Although when he gave it to the to the panther desert horse beast thing,
Yeah.
it was really crunchy. He like snapped it. And it was like,
Yeah. It
did
just
you hear it?
reminded me of. It just reminded me of the Goonies, the Baby Ruth.
Exactly. Baby Ruth. So that was Stargate then. Go back, watch it, check it out, listen into the podcast. If you like your sci-fi, if you like your 90s movies, and if you like your occasional one-liners, and if you like the way that Christopher Lloyd's eyes light up in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and it didn't scare the living piss out of you, then go and watch Stargate. Okay. So that was this week's podcast. On next week's show, we're going to bring you another slice of movie and TV related podcast fun. But before then, please follow our Facebook and Instagram accounts as usual at Movie Mouth Podcast and hit subscribe or give us a nice 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. We literally have no idea how many people listen to this. And if you don't, go and click and give us a good review, give us some 5 stars or give us 1 star and tell us how bad we are. Don't do that. We don't know. So we don't know whether we should continue doing it or not. But, as always, Phil, there's just one little tiny thing left to say, isn't there, Phil?
There is there?
Yes.
What's that?
Do you know what it is? You don't know what it is?
Probably.
Bye, Phil.
Bye, Miles.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. But obviously, we hope that Batman can kick COVID's ass because COVID sucks, and we're looking forward to this movie after seeing this awesome trailer.
Yeah, if anyone can do it, Batman can, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Pardon me, I'm just passing wind. You might just want to put a little thing in there just to edit that out.